Hey guys, it's Kathy. I hope you guys are doing well this early morning or late night, wherever you are. So, there's no Fleischer today. None. Zero. So, if you're here for Fleischer, just go take a nap or something. We're just going to do a trial today. Actually, two trials. One tiny little mini one that's great. It's just so good. And then a custody case where dad wants full custody. And the question is, does mom's misbehavior, I mean, just because she misbehaves, does that mean she can't be a good mom? You know, what she does, she does. And it's nothing like, bad. But let's start with the fun. It's just so funny, the first one. The great bicycle heist of 2024 has been solved. Here we go.
Apparently somebody, it wasn't just a abandoned bicycle that nobody wanted, or they wouldn't never have charged you
Yes.
with it. I mean,
I think what it was,
somebody
that
had to have,
bicycle probably was missing for so long, and then when I fix them up, sometimes I take them to the pawn shop to get more money to buy more parts for other bicycles. That's when it come up. Hadn't I knew that bicycle was stolen, I'd have never bothered it.
but anything you find like that belongs to somebody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But we get a lot of bicycles downside the roads in Reedsville and everything. So I didn't even much think about it, Your Honor. I know what my record is, and I know I ain't trying to do no burglaries or nothing like that, sir, because I know how hard it could be on me. Especially when I lost a part of me, Mr.
You
Daniel.
say he's working for you at the jail? What kind of work you got him doing? You been there, 40 days? You want him another couple of months?
Your Honor, I was in a car wreck in Atlanta a couple of months ago, and I got these orthopedic doctors in Pooler, Georgia, that they trying to do something with my back before it get too late. Cause sometimes I can walk and I be in excruciating pain because I can't get like my pain medicine.
You wasn't in too much pain to be walking down that path and picking up a bicycle that belonged to you.
Well, I've been
That's
walking
true.
on the cane.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
sir. And I have my pain medicine and stuff like that. But truly, really and truly, I have discs that's laying
I understand.
on that nerve.
You got a doctor's appointment scheduled?
Yes, sir. Just as soon as I can get out of here, I have another doctor's appointment at
You
the
don't know when that
orthopedic
is.
doctor's.
You don't know when you don't have a date for that appointment. They've not given you a certain date to come in.
Yes, I had told them that I would probably be released today, and therefore I can call them and they can get me an appointment. Because definitely I need to go because my
I
back is
understand.
really
Well,
messed up.
let's delay that for another 30 days. I'll revoke him 70 days to the county jail. And you work him another 30 days and release him, and then he can go get his back fixed.
All conditions special, Your Honor?
Ma'am, yes.
Good night, Nays. Good night.
You say that completes the state's business?
I believe so, Your Honor.
All right. I believe in it.
You're not in too much pain to go steal a bicycle. I had a cane, Judge. Judge, I had a cane. That makes it easier. Okay. Now, I didn't hear the dad's testimony in this trial yet. I only heard the mom's and then the judgment. So, we're going to listen to this first part together.
And doing is two different things.
Yes.
That's all I've got listed for y'all.
Bills has been reduced. Bond has been reduced.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, sir.
This was continued to December.
All right, Eric Armstrong and
Child, Emily
This is Georgia.
Armstrong, Your Honor, she is
Four.
she's 4 years old, Your Honor. We believe the evidence will show that my client engages as the primary caretaker of the child and has continued to be the primary caretaker of the child since the parties separated. The defendant is a nurse. She works a very unpredictable schedule. She also, when she left the marital residence, Your Honor, she moved to a residence here in Lyons. She has roommates. She has at least one boyfriend that she has exposed the child to. The defendant is also from Kansas, and she has various times made threats that she would take the child and go back to Kansas. That is the reason we sought the ex parte order in this, Your Honor, was fear that she would leave with the child, and that it would be very difficult to fight in Kansas. So we are here today to ask for my client to have primary physical custody and final decision-making authority as to the party's minor child, and that's what we want on a temporary basis, Your Honor. We have no problem with her having.
This is a temporary hearing,
Yes, Your Honor.
all right?
And, Your Honor, perhaps procedurally, we disagree on where we're at. At this juncture, my client hasn't even been served with this complaint for divorce. It was filed about 2 weeks ago. She did receive an actual copy from her husband when she attempted to exercise her 50-50 parenting time that the parties had been agreeing on and exercising since December. So while she received a picture of the complaint for divorce and the ex parte order that was entered, which led her to come to my office, she has not been officially served. I'm here today and I have the authority to accept service on her behalf, but I would object to the court diving into all temporary issues at this point and ask that the court limit this to only the ex parte issues. Judge, and I think that the court not only has the authority, but it's already in the law that during this pending action that she's not to take the child out of the state of Georgia. She would stipulate to any provision in the order that would indicate that. Judge, we also object to any sort of testimony about introducing boyfriends or any other individuals. We don't believe that any of those actions, which she would acknowledge she is living with a boyfriend, but we don't believe that that has exposed the child to any dangerous circumstances. We would object to any allegation that she has an unpredictable schedule. She's a nurse. She doesn't get to just come and go as she pleases, Judge, but instead those schedules are released well in advance and based on the parties' agreement as to 50-50 custody since December. She actually changed her schedule and works, say 7-day on, 7-day off, so that she's available to the child. And the child is in a preschool program and takes, as I understand it, the bus from the school directly to a daycare where she can retrieve the child and take care of the child just as any other parent would. Your Honor, so on an ex parte basis, I would ask that the court limit testimony. We've been involved in this case for about a week now. We're prepared to address all the allegations that were in the petition, but certainly would like for the court to understand this is our first appearance, and without proper notice, we'd like for the court to limit it to just those allegations.
Your Honor, we came here prepared for a temporary hearing. We can certainly limit it to address the issues in the ex parte. They had not asked me for any sort of continuance, or we would have gladly agreed to
Well,
it.
she doesn't want to continue this
Not seeing her
because,
kid.
So
because then the
we
ex
can
parte
limit it.
temporary order would stay in effect, and she don't want to do that apparently.
Well, we can limit it to the issues. I think what I outlined is exactly what's in the ex parte. So,
All right, you may go forward.
right, Mr. Armstrong, take a stand. Come right over here, okay?
Let me see it. Let me take a picture of it one more time. Let's take a picture while I have it.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in the case now in hearing be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, please have a seat.
State your name. Excuse me, state your name for the record.
Eric Armstrong,
Where do you live?
318 Glen Sykes Road in Cobbtown, Georgia.
Okay, Cobbtown, just a few miles down 292, is that right?
Correct.
All right. How long have you been a resident of the state of Georgia?
I was a resident my whole life except the time I was in the military.
Is that how you met your wife?
Correct. When I was stationed in Kansas.
All right, and she is from Kansas.
Correct.
Tell the court about your daughter.
My daughter's 4. She's very smart for her age. She does love her mom. She wants to see her mom, but there's been a lot of issues that I've had with her going She's come back recently with this saying of, Mommy's getting a new house, it's gonna be far away, and stuff like that. She comes back saying that she eats nothing but powdered donuts and chips and snacks for dinner, and that's one of the big issues that I have with her going over there.
Well, let's talk about what led up to the separation, y'all separating.
The biggest notifier to me was on Thanksgiving morning. She got off work, Jamie did. She come in the room while I was asleep, said, I'm going to my friend's house for Thanksgiving. I, half asleep, just said, okay. She left the house, turned her location off, quit answering calls and texts. She came home late that afternoon, and I didn't, she didn't really say anything about what happened. Then following Tuesday, she had, I had noticed the security system said our door was locked or had jammed. And I had looked on there and seen that she had left the house at that point, and then she had returned approximately 8 hours later. I asked her where she was at. She said again that she was with that same friend. So that had me suspicious in those two remarks there. I had seen where every time I would walk by her, she would grab the top of her phone and cover it to, in case a notification had come down from the top of the phone, it would be covered and I wouldn't see it as I was walking by, or she would lock the phone and put it face down. On December 2nd, I woke up that morning and her phone was laying in the bed between us. I picked up the phone and went through and found all the evidence of her with other people.
Again, Your Honor, I would object to anything, any adultery would not be relevant for the purposes of this ex parte hearing. Certainly maybe at a final hearing, but not today.
All right.
We
I'll
say,
take that in mind. I'll keep that in mind.
all right, thank you, Your Honor. How much time prior to separation did Miss Armstrong spend with your daughter, Emily?
Most of the time she would sleep during the day on weekends if she had worked the day prior. So I would wake up with the child and she would wake up probably 3 or 4. Jamie would get ready for work. She would then sit on the couch and either nap or play on her phone. Sometimes she would play with the child in that time period, and then she would go to work, leaving all afternoon with just me and the child. And then some afternoons, whenever she was not working that night, she'd spend a little bit of time with her, but mostly it was sleeping or sitting on the couch.
And when you say sitting on the couch, what was she doing?
Typically playing on phone.
Would your little girl ask her mother to play with her?
Sometimes, yes.
Your Honor, hearsay?
He can state what he heard, Your Honor. I'm not asking.
It's not for the truth of the matter. It would just be whether it took place or not. It's what I call an oral act. It would not be hearsay. I don't really.
Thank you. Would your daughter ask her mother to play with her?
Yes,
And would she?
sometimes.
Okay, what would she do other times?
Other times she would remain on the couch.
Okay. What was your routine with Emily as far as preschool, daycare? Explain that to the court.
Every morning I would get her up for school. I would get her dressed. I would take her to school. I would pick her up from daycare. I would bring her home. Tuesdays and Thursdays were typically bath nights. So those were the nights that I would give her a bath, or sometimes Jamie would also.
Okay. Tell the court about the daycare. Who runs that daycare and why your daughter goes there?
So the reason I chose that daycare is because it was my aunt. I grew up around this aunt. I know her. I'm friends with, all my cousins and everything, so I know who it was. I wouldn't be leaving my daughter with basically a stranger with any other daycare.
Okay. So she's basically, from the time she gets out of preschool, in the care of a family member.
Correct.
What date did y'all separate?
It was shortly after December 2nd.
And did you have any knowledge of where Miss Armstrong went?
I did not. Not for a couple of days. I did not know where she was. She was going and looking for places. I think it was maybe the 13th, I think was the day when she finally had said that she had found a place.
All right. Now, when she left Emily with you.
Correct.
Where did she end up moving to? Did you find that out?
It was 101 Benny Road here in Lyons.
Okay. Were you able to determine how many people live in that residence?
One day my daughter had said something when Jamie had come to pick her up about, is your friend going to be there? And so I asked Jamie who her friend was, and Jamie said that she had a roommate that was staying in one of the spare bedrooms with her boyfriend, And then there was a gay coworker that would stay on the couch every now and then.
Okay, so did she admit that she was living in this house with a boyfriend?
She never stated it was the boyfriend, no.
Okay, but a male, an unrelated male,
Correct.
okay? Do you have any idea who this person is?
I was very suspicious that it would be the boyfriend that was staying on the couch every now and then.
Was this a person known to your child?
No,
Do you have concerns about your little girl being in a residence with males that you all do not know or that you do not know?
yes, I'm very concerned with that.
Okay.
I would be too.
Now, you sought an ex parte order partially because of Kansas.
Correct.
Tell the court how Kansas plays into this case.
So with Jamie being from Kansas, once we separated, she had made statements that she was going to end up moving back to Kansas, and she had made statements about taking Emily and going to Kansas.
Okay.
And then she also had made a statement about when May comes around, her and Emily would be taking a long vacation to Kansas.
Right. Is May when school gets out?
Correct.
Has she threatened this during the course of your marriage when y'all had difficult times?
Yes, there was very often times she would mention moving back to Kansas.
Who does she have here as far as family?
Other than my family, nobody.
Who is her support system?
She is fairly good friends with my sister.
But other than your sister, does she have someone who could be dependable to help her with Emily?
Not that I know of.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as plaintiff's exhibit 1. If you can identify this for me.
What was you asking on this?
What is that?
That is her saying that,
Now, what is that piece of paper I handed you?
oh, it's text messages that I exported from my phone.
Are those between you and Jamie Armstrong?
Correct.
Have you changed or altered those text messages in any way?
I have not.
Is this printout a fair and accurate depiction of the text conversations you had with Jamie?
It is the full text conversations.
Your Honor, we move to tender plaintiff's exhibit 1.
Any objection?
Your Honor, if he can identify the date for the record, I think it was on there, I just don't remember it.
If it's not on this page, it's on it is on this one. It is 1/18/24.
Okay, so these are from the last couple
January,
of months,
correct.
3 months.
No objection then, Judge.
Admitted?
And what is the nature of the text here that concerns you?
This text is, she says, I'm moving back home, F this. And she says, now I don't have a house with no water and heat. I'm moving back home to Kansas next month, F this. And what that was during the winter months, the rental property that she was in had, when she first moved in, had HVAC issues. And from my understanding, the flex had fell off the attachment from under the house. And also the water lines had froze.
Have you tried to help her?
All right, her shoes are lovely, but they keep pulling my eyes down. She needs to get a more subtle color. I can't concentrate.
And during the course of this separation, have you tried to help her and make life better for her and more palatable for Emily when she was visiting her mother?
I had offered to come and fix the HVAC, as that's what I do for, work. I had offered to come and fix that. Also, whenever everything initially happened, I had offered for her to stay at the residence of 318 Glen Sykes Road until after Christmas for the benefit of the child, that she would have both parents there for that Christmas event for one last time.
And she did not
She
avail
refused.
herself to that. Okay. Going to show you plaintiff's exhibit 2. Can you identify that?
These are also text messages.
All right, and what dates are those from?
1/26/24 is whenever the first one is.
All right. Does that printout fairly and accurately portray the text conversation you had with Jamie Armstrong?
Yes,
Have you changed or altered it in any way?
have not.
Your Honor, we move to tender plaintiff's exhibit 2.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay.
Submitted.
What concerns you in that text thread?
This is also where she's stating that she's going to take the money from her tax return and up and move back to Kansas.
Is Is she saying she's going to take Emily with her?
She says that I need to go ahead and file for the divorce so that we can have a custody hearing.
So at this point, y'all are talking divorce, and she's saying she's gonna book it back to Kansas.
Correct.
Thank you.
How many times would you say she has made this threat?
Oh, I've lost count. It's been numerous times.
Are you fearful that she will leave and take your daughter to Kansas?
Yes.
Since y'all separated, well, I want to show you this really quickly. At some point, y'all began actually talking about divorcing, right?
Correct.
And even then, the Kansas, I'm going to Kansas, kept coming up.
Correct.
Did y'all discuss how you would work custody if she fled to Kansas?
We have not.
Did she try clicking her heels 3 times?
And was that kind of her, when y'all got into an argument, her default, I'm just gonna leave and go to Kansas?
Her default was I want a divorce, and that's been almost since right after we got married. That's when we got into an argument. That was her go-to saying. And once we got down here, it was mentioned quite often when we got into arguments.
Now, you heard in opening statements, her attorney mentioned that y'all had agreed to do 50-50.
Our agreement was whenever she had days off, she would contact me, and then we would exchange the child. I volunteered that I would pick her up from daycare since I was already in Metter. I would bring her to Cobbtown. That way Jamie would not have to drive all the way to Metter to pick her up from daycare to help her again save a little bit of gas.
I'm gonna show you plaintiff's 3. That's another
Text message.
document. Can you identify that?
It's text messages again.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of your text conversations with Jamie?
Yes,
Have you changed or altered
I
them?
have not.
Your Honor, we tender plaintiff's 3.
Any objection?
No, sir.
Submitted?
Again, in this text thread, what caused you concern?
She again stated that she was going to move back to Kansas at the end of the school year.
Now, since y'all separated, have you kept track of what days you have had Emily and what days she has had Emily?
I have.
Did you note this on a calendar?
I used the school calendar, correct?
Okay, but have you made notes on paperwork as far as what days you've had Emily?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you plaintiff's exhibit 4. Defense counsel's been provided with a copy. Do you recognize this grouping of papers?
Yes, this is the calendar that I printed out and copied all the information from the school calendar for it to be in a neater format.
And on that, did you notate what days you've had Emily versus what days Jamie has had Emily?
I have.
Have you changed or altered that document?
I have not.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction to the best of your memory as to what days you have cared for your child versus the days she's been in the care of her mother?
Correct.
Okay. Your Honor, we've moved to tender plaintiff's exhibit 4.
We object to the premise of what it's showing, but if that's what he says that it is, we certainly can testify on the opposite end.
Very well. I'll allow it.
Okay. So in November 2023 is when you discovered or felt like there was a boyfriend, correct?
Correct.
And then when did the separation occur?
It happened, I discovered on December 2nd. December 13th was the first day that she had moved into her new place and had Emily over there.
Right, in the month of December, what days did you have Emily? If you want to just read off the dates.
I picked her up, she was taken to school on the 14th by Jamie. I picked her up on the 14th, had her 15th, 16th, 17th. Jamie picked her up from my house on the 18th and took her to school on the 19th. I picked her up the 19th, 20th, 21st. Jamie picked her up from the afternoon on the 22nd, which was a Friday, kept her Saturday, and brought her back to me Sunday. I had her Monday and Tuesday. She picked her up from me on the 27th, and then I had her on the 28th. She picked her up again on the 29th, and then I had her on the 30th and the 31st.
Okay. Let's go to, now this was over Christmas, right? So
Correct.
some of that's daycare, some of it's not school,
Correct.
right? Okay, let's go to January. What days did you have Emily?
I had her on the 1st, 2nd, 4th, 6th, 8th, 9th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th. Jamie came and visit on the 28th before work, but I had her full time then, 29th, 30th.
Where was Jamie during this time?
My assumption was work. There were some days, like on the 29th, she had said that she was going to get her, and I never heard or seen from her.
Okay, so were y'all doing 50-50?
No.
Who had your child the bulk of the time?
Between school and daycare, I did.
Okay. Who was
Other
the-
than school and
the one
daycare,
responsible getting her to school and daycare?
I was.
All right, let's talk about February. What days did you have Emily in the month of February?
All right, so Emily was late to school on the 1st, where Jamie had took her to school, and then I picked her up that afternoon. And then I had her on the 5th, 6th, 7th. On the 9th, Jamie had her for most of the day, brought her to me that afternoon before she had to work. Then on the 10th, I had her 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 16th, 17th, 19th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th.
Where was Jamie?
I would assume work.
Okay, at any of this time, is she saying, hey, why am I not getting my daughter? I thought we were gonna do this split time thing.
There was one day here in March that there was a school project that I was doing a 3D print for. It was a leprechaun trap. And Jamie had mentioned on the 13th that she wanted to come get her. And I said, well, if you come pick her up, she's not going to finish her leprechaun trap. And then there was silence. I didn't hear anything else for a little while. And then she waited until about 7:30 and said, well, I guess something along the lines of, well, I guess I'm not going to see her then.
Okay, let's go over March. What days did you have Emily?
I had her on the 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 29th, 30th, and 31st.
Let's come into April. Before getting the order, how many days did you have her in April?
So the ex parte was signed on the 4th, and I had her on the 1st and the 4th.
Okay. Would she ask to come see Emily?
There was that one time that she said before work that she wanted to come see her.
Did she show up?
She did that one time.
Okay. Was there another time she said you offered for her to come see her?
On the 29th, she said that she was going to get her, but she had a tattoo appointment at 4, and she would see when that ended. And
March 29th.
March 29th, correct. She said that she had that tattoo appointment. That was at 4. She would let me know when she got done. She texted me 9 or shortly thereafter and said that she was finally home. And I said it was too late to come get her at 9 o'clock.
You're talking 9 o'clock.
A tattoo appointment. Like she hasn't seen the kid in how long now? And she has a tattoo appointment?
PM, correct. Nighttime.
Have you tried to keep your child from Jamie?
Other than the 13th, me stating that if she does not finish her project, or if she goes with her, she's not going to finish her project, that's the only time that I have said no, other than when she asked after the ex parte was signed.
Has she shown any interest whatsoever in your child?
Very little.
Now, did she see her last Saturday?
She did.
What was that visitation like?
She came to my mother's house. She was there exactly at 1 o'clock. I stayed on the couch most of the time playing on TikTok, giving them their time, mother-daughter time. my mother being the supervisor for that, she did, play with them also. But I tried to stay out of it. But whenever Jamie walked in the door, Emily was drawing on a dry erase board. There wasn't no great excitement. It was just like, oh, hey, Mom. And then she went back to drawing. And Jamie went in there, sat down, and showed her some of the stuff that she had brought her, and then they started playing together.
And real quickly, back to Plaintiff's Exhibit 4. The days that you had Emily, you marked with an E for Eric,
Correct.
and the days that Jamie had her, you marked with a J.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to clarify that for the court.
Thank you.
Okay. How was Jamie's interaction with Emily that day versus the whole prior lifetime of Emily?
She was way more engaged with doing stuff with Emily on Saturday than she was typically.
What happened when it was time for visitation?
Jamie did get a little emotionally distraught, which it did emotionally distraught Emily also. And instead of making it easy on Emily to understand and saying, hey, I have to go to work, she would say, Emily would ask, can I go home with you? And she would just say no. And Emily was like, why not? She's like, I just can't say.
Okay. Did Emily get upset?
Emily got very upset, yes.
So instead of trying to calm the child, and Jamie made it worse.
She added to it. I wouldn't necessarily say made it worse, but it was neck and neck there.
Okay. What are you asking the court to award you as far as custody of Emily?
I would like to have sole custody.
Well, and I'm asking you legal terms that you probably don't know, that are foreign to everybody who doesn't work in this. Do you want primary custody of your child?
Yes.
Do you think, based on the history during your marriage and what has gone on during this separation, that Jamie is going to even be willing to do the 50-50 that she's asking for?
I don't think she would agree to anything less than that.
But what is her schedule like?
Last I knew, it was she would work random days on and off. She would get random days off as census days, and then she would get called in on other days.
Okay. What time does she have to go into work?
She used to leave the house at 6. Her official clock-in time,
AM or PM?
p.m., 6 p.m. Her official clock-in time was 7 p.m., but she would get there earlier to do her pre-check-in, clock-in procedures.
Right, which is normal for a nurse.
Yes.
But who would have Emily if she's working at night?
I do not know.
She has no family here. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you have concerns of where Emily would be and who she'd be left with if there was any other custody order besides you having primary?
Yes, there is a great concern of that.
Do you want Jamie to be able to visit with Emily?
Yes.
Do you want some guarantees that she is not going to leave the state of Georgia and flee to Kansas with your child?
Yes.
What kind of visitation do you think will work with her schedule and balancing Emily's need for routine and schedule?
From my assumption of her schedule and what I'm being told her new schedule is, I mean, it would be, as it happens kind of basis.
So
We
you
couldn't
want her
say we couldn't say directly like Sunday to Saturday because her schedule she may get called in or changed around or something like that.
And getting called in can happen,
Anytime.
and it could be day or night.
Mostly night. It would be for her night shift, correct?
Has she had Emily for a consistent weekend throughout this separation?
I think there was 1 or 2 weekends that she had her for both Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. I have nothing further. Ms. Navarro is going to have some questions, okay?
Okay.
Mr. Armstrong, what evidence do you have that Jamie has left your child with anyone other than you while she's at work?
I don't, because I
All right.
haven't known that to happen yet.
And you don't even know that that's happened yet, right? Okay. And the visitation that was to occur under this ex parte order, that was to be supervised by your mom or your sister, correct?
Either or, yes,
And yet you stayed there for the entire period of her visitation, didn't you?
I did.
And you sat on the couch and you watched her and monitored her, although there was another supervisor indicated under the order, correct?
It never said that I had to leave.
All right, so you had to be told, that's your indication, that you should have been ordered to leave there, that that would never have been your choice?
I mean, I would have stayed just to save gas, not to drive back and forth. I mean, there wasn't no need for me to leave, but there wasn't a need to stay either.
All right,
Gas
and
is
you just really
expensive.
wanted to see your wife, because it had been a while since you'd laid eyes on her, correct?
No, that was
And
not
you
why I
had
was
been
there.
driving by her house and you'd been unable to make contact with her, correct?
I'm not.
All right. There was no dangerous situation that you witnessed while you were supervising her visit, was there?
No.
And she was interacting with your daughter in an appropriate way?
Yes.
She was playing with her and they were getting along just fine, weren't they?
Yes.
And at the end, neither one of them wanted that time to end, correct?
Correct.
All right. And the text messages labeled, I believe, plaintiff's exhibits 1, 2, and 3. The text messages where she said she was moving to Kansas. Could you point to me or quote to me where she said she was taking your child with her?
Whenever it says when school's ending, I'm going to Kansas with her.
Your Honor, can I take those?
Sure.
Unless my memory is incorrect.
That's one there too.
Your Honor, can I approach the
You
witness?
may.
Sir, I'm going to show you plaintiff's exhibit 3. And did you mark these up with the different color highlighters?
Between me and my mom, we went through them and highlighted
Okay.
what we
and
thought
so
was important information.
Can you read to me the last sentence, and I believe there's actually an error written there. The sentence that you read to the court earlier about her moving to Kansas.
It says, but at the end of the day, come the end of the school year, I'm moving back to Kansas.
Can you point to me exactly where it says that she was taking her daughter with her?
It don't.
All right, so does that change your testimony from a few moments ago?
My memory is a little fuzzy on it, but yes.
All right, I'm gonna show you plaintiff's exhibit 1, where there's also someone is marked in a blue pen. Can you read that text message out loud?
I'm moving back home, F this.
All right, can you show me in that text message where she said she was taking your daughter with her?
It don't say it in this one.
All right, I'm gonna show you plaintiff's exhibit 2. I believe it's the blue pen on this exhibit. Can you read that text message out loud for me?
I'm probably moving back to Kansas in May. So with your tax return, you need to file for divorce so we can have a custody thing.
All right, can you tell me in that text message where she says she's taking your daughter to Kansas?
It don't.
All right, and so at this point, she was trying to negotiate with you and indicate to you that y'all needed a schedule and a court order, correct?
Yes.
All right, so she wanted some direction, so she did know what to do, correct?
Yes.
All right. And after those text messages, that's when y'all actually started having some sort of schedule where she was allowed to see her daughter, correct?
It was more or less when she called and asked. It
right.
wasn't a schedule.
And when she did call and ask, you'd even say, no, there's a project at school, so she can't come visit you.
That was one time.
Can you explain to me why your wife could not have helped with a leprechaun trap?
She didn't volunteer to. I
Did-
just said if she goes over there, she's not going to finish. I was still actively 3D printing it out, so there wasn't a whole lot to help with until it got done 3D printing.
You didn't even ask her if she wanted to be involved in that project, did you?
I did not.
All right. In this petition, sir, you've asked for child support to be established. Is that correct?
I have not mentioned child support yet.
You didn't mention that in your petition?
I have not mentioned that yet.
All right, so at this juncture today, you're not asking that your wife be ordered to pay child support if you were granted primary custody?
Not today.
You don't remember having a conversation with her, or excuse me, do you remember having a conversation with her where y'all indicated because of the 50-50 time, no one would pay child support to each other?
We did say there wasn't no child support for right now.
All right, and only because you filed it into the record, do I feel the need to cross-examine you on this, but you filled out a financial affidavit that was handwritten, correct?
Correct.
All right, and you indicated on there that your gross monthly income was $2,098 a month, is that correct?
Correct.
And we've received a pay stub, I actually think it was attached to that financial affidavit, where that's actually a weekly income. You bring home about $1,200 a week, correct?
Somewhere around there. There
All
may have
right.
been a typo there.
So if you put in that you had net monthly income of $1,200 per month, that was just an inaccurate statement,
Yes.
correct?
It was
Okay.
a misunderstanding of the paper there.
All right, so to the extent that the court is going to address child support, are you asking the court to fix and remedy that issue, and it's actually $1,200 take-home pay a week?
No, it's not take-home pay, 1,200. It's 700 a week, roughly take-home.
All right, $1,200 gross a month, is that your testimony? Or,
About
excuse me, a
11.
week?
About 1,100.
All right. Your Honor, I don't have any further questions for him.
Anything on redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, if I can have just one moment. Okay. These are more text messages.
She's talking about text messages. I hope we can see them. I don't know if
Are
we do
there
or not.
texts where Jamie said she would take Emily and go to Kansas?
I do not have a complete recollection of the text, but I do believe there was something along those lines.
Have there
If it
been
wasn't
times-
direct said, it was implied.
Have there been times she said to you, I'm gonna take our child and I'm going to Kansas?
I think so.
Has she referred to nursing in Kansas?
Just take a picture of them so that I can read them while she's moving on.
I'll, if I need to, I can go run a copy.
That's quicker to do it this way.
Gonna show you plaintiff's 5. Again, do you recognize that printout?
Yes, text messages.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of text messages between you and Jamie?
Yes.
Have you changed or altered those in any way?
I have not.
What text concerns you the most in that printout?
When she says, send me some money back because because Emily and I will be moving back to Kansas.
And when was that?
I would need the page before the dates on the start of the messages. That's page 241.
What did he say?
This would be around September, October
On that.
Yeah,
September.
that's what I'm asking.
of 23.
And y'all had problems for a long time in the marriage, is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that one reason you delayed ending the marriage was fear of her taking your child?
Yes.
This is the page before it. We're going back. I'm gonna show you the page before that you were trying to take it the day.
Okay. That would be September 1st of 23.
Okay. So 2 months before separation.
Yes.
And I attended this as plaintiff's exhibit 5.
No objection.
Is it admitted?
And then I'm gonna show you plaintiffs, 6 and 7. If you can identify these, are these text messages between you and Jamie?
Yes.
Have you changed or altered those in any way?
I have not.
Okay, did they fairly and accurately portray the text conversations you had with your wife, Jamie Armstrong?
Yes.
Your Honor, we moved to tender, exhibits 6 and 7.
No objection.
Admitted?
And what concerns you in those 2 printouts?
In this one here, 6, it's saying even if we decided to stay together, nothing was going to change.
Okay. Is there any threat of going to Kansas in that one?
Not in that one.
What about 7?
On 7, she says that if anything's happened, I'll pack up mine and Emily's stuff and leave.
If you'll look back at exhibit 56.
Did I miss something?
You'll look at those highlighted areas.
She mentions again moving back up north, meaning to Kansas, and she mentions again a little further down, a few minutes later, she's not going to stay here, and it states that she has no one here.
And again, are you more than willing to work with her to have visitation with your child?
Yes,
And do you want her to have visitation with your child?
yes,
Do you just want some guarantees that your child is safe, both to remain here and not exposed to multiple men?
yes,
Okay. Nothing further.
Mr. Armstrong, these text messages, 5, 6, and 7, I believe were the exhibits. You stated that those were from September of 2023?
yes,
All right, so 7 months before you claimed this was an emergency to the court, is that accurate?
yes.
All right, and so at the time, did you rush off to the court and get any sort of ex parte order or anything to take custody away from your wife?
I did not.
At that point, in fact, y'all stayed together for a whole nother 3 months after that?
Yes.
All right, no further questions.
Nothing else, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down. Call your next witness.
We'll call Nona Steele. She's out.
Nona Steele.
Yes.
The accent is so good.
I still think I have those text messages. Right there. The hot spot.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in the case now and hear me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Please have a seat.
Now, will you state your name for the record?
Nona Steele,
And can you spell that for the court reporter?
Nonasteele.
And how do you know Eric Armstrong?
He's my son.
Okay. And where do you live?
At 1155 Mosley Road, Cobbtown.
Are you a lifelong resident of Cobbtown?
Not really. I was born and raised in Metter, but I've been in the Cobbtown A-line area since about 2005.
Okay. Long time.
Yeah, long time.
From Metter to A-line isn't too far.
No, about 6 miles.
All right. And how do you know Jamie?
She was my son's wife.
When did they come back to the Cobbtown A-line area?
When he got out of the military, when his time was up, at that time I was living like closer into the middle of Cobbtown, and they came home, and they stayed with me about a month or so, until like a week after they got back, he had a job, and then like a month or so later, they had found a place to rent.
All right. How old was Emily then?
She wasn't born then.
Okay. So they were living here when she was born.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been around Eric and his family since they came back here?
Yes, ma'am.
Like on a daily basis?
Not necessarily daily, but, weekly at least, maybe.
Have you had the chance to observe Emily with her parents?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell the court what your observations are as far as who seems to be or who appears to be the primary caretaker of your granddaughter.
Eric is.
Yeah, that's
He sees to it she
her
gets
son.
to and from school. He sees to it, she's taken care of and, fed supper, picked up from daycare. He's the main one that is, sees to it that she's taken care of.
All right. Does Jamie work every day of the week?
Not to my knowledge.
And those days that she's not working, does she routinely pick Emily up?
I usually go to the daycare. My sister runs it, and my mom's in a nursing home in Metter. So when I get off work, I'll usually go, and about the time I get to daycare, the kids are just starting to get picked up. So, you know, I'm there most of the time, and seldom has she, like maybe, that I know of, like maybe 4 or 5 times that I've been there and seen.
What family support does Eric have in this area?
He's got me, he's got his sister, he has his aunt, he has friends that, you know, lifelong he's raised with, grown up, went to school with.
If he were given primary physical custody of Emily, if he needed backup, are all of y'all there to help him?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you already do that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Since Eric and Jamie separated, who has looked after Emily?
Eric. He's seen to it that she's had what she's needed, you know, like going to school. She's had, you know, all the stuff that she has to take. Like she has to have a towel, she has to have, you know, a water bottle, homework folders, all of that has to be put back in there and checked every day, that type of stuff. And he sees to it that she's done that.
To your knowledge, who has Emily been with primarily since they separated?
Eric.
Have you been surprised by how often Jamie has seen her child?
Yes.
Explain that to the court.
There's been several times that Eric has told me that, you know, Jamie's supposed to be picking Emily up at daycare, you know, today, and when I get there, she doesn't show up.
So you're there as
Yikes.
backup?
Yeah, yes, if if his work calls for him to be late getting in, he knows that I get off at 4 o'clock, so I can be there. And usually if he's late, I'll pick Emily up. We go see my mom. She likes seeing, you know, great grandma. And she usually talks me into, weather permitting, the park. And, you know, sometimes McDonald's, sometimes an ice cream, you know, just something, you know.
So the times you've been there waiting on your sister and expected Jamie to show up for Emily, she has not shown up?
There's about 4 or 5 times that I know for sure that she hasn't. There's other times that my sister has mentioned that Eric had told her.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay times 2, I think.
You can only say what you have firsthand
Oh,
knowledge
okay,
of.
okay.
Were you at visitation this past Saturday?
Yes, ma'am.
How would you describe that to the court?
I mean, Jamie showed up. Emily didn't seem really excited to see her. She come in, she had brought some stuff for him to, you know, to play with and do with. And she had brought her like some milk and some strawberries and stuff. And she went in there, opened the little bag. They were sitting in the kitchen. Emily had been writing on a whiteboard thing that I have on the fridge that the grandkids play on. And she's sitting there and played for a little while. And I have a plastic tote that has toys and stuff in it. And so after they played in the kitchen for a little while, she took the tote, went outside. They played catch with the little flat things with Velcro and a little fuzzy ball. And there was some water guns in there, so Emily wanted to play with those. So we got out there, and after a few minutes of her and Jamie playing, Emily wanted me to shoot with them. So we got out there chasing each other around, you know, playing. We came back inside. Emily had gotten, you know, wet because she naturally wanted to. But we came back inside, threw her clothes in the dryer, and she sat on the couch with Jamie, colored in a marker book and everything, watched a movie that was, you know, on, and played with. I have like some little miniature gnomes and stuff, and she wanted to play with those. So she and I were sitting there, Emily and I were sitting there playing, and Jamie come over and kind of joined in with that for a while. She had a snack, and when it was getting closer to time to go, Jamie got, in my opinion, a little overly sentimental about saying goodbye. It upset Emily. Jamie was, dramatically crying, as if she would like never see her child again or something. And it upset Emily. Eric was calming Emily down, got her pretty much settled while Jamie was picking up some stuff in the kitchen. And when she got ready to go, Emily went to hug her again, and she got upset again. It took her, 10, 15 minutes or so after Jamie finally left to get her calmed all the way back down.
Okay, that was great detail, except what was the snack? All she said was she had a snack. We need more details.
Was Jamie much more interactive with Emily at this visitation than you had observed her prior?
Yes. She was involved with her. She was, talking to her. She was, she was interacting with her.
Before the separation, when you were around them, would Jamie play with Emily?
Somewhat. There were several times when, I would be out there visiting, and Emily would want her to play, and she would play like red light, green light kind of thing with her. And it wasn't really that often that, that she was actively engaged with her.
What kind of relationship does Emily have with Eric?
That's her world. He is her world. She loves her daddy. That's just, he's her world. So.
That's all I have. Ms. Navarro's gonna have some questions.
Okay.
Miss Steele, you haven't lived under the same roof as these folks since Emily was born, correct?
No.
All right, so you've never had to supervise Jamie while she was in the presence of her child, all during their marriage, correct?
There was a week that I was off work for that week. Daycare was closed, so I had told them that if they needed me to watch Emily, because at that time she was going to school and working, and I'm like, if you need me to watch her, I have vacation time at work. I took that week off, and I would get out there in the morning. Jamie would wake up later on, and so, for about a week there, I kind of was there every day for most of the
You
day.
provided child care for your granddaughter, right?
I do sometimes, yes.
Okay, you've never been required to supervise Jamie while she's cared for Emily, correct?
Required as in, like, this supervised visit? No.
Okay, and you would agree with me that that's probably a little awkward from Jamie's perspective to have to come and visit her daughter at your home, correct?
Considering I'm her mother-in-law, I wouldn't have thought it would have been that traumatic.
All right, and despite however Jamie was feeling that day, she showed up when she was supposed to, right?
Yes, ma'am.
She brought healthy snacks, it sounds like. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. She even brought things to play with, toys or other items, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. She went outside, correct? They relaxed on the couch. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you see anything that gave you concern about the way that Jamie was interacting with Emily during all of those activities?
Well, there was an odd moment where Emily went to the bathroom, and when she come back out, she was saying something about the water was hot. And I said, which spigot did you use? And she said, the one that says cold. Well, my landlord has the wrong handles on it. And the only other other children that come to my house are all a minimum of 10 years old or older, of my grandchildren. So they know the water situation in the bathroom. But, yeah, she come out saying something about the water was hot, and I'm like, oh, yeah, the landlord has got them on backwards. And so she was like,
Of course.
she was telling Emily she was gonna take her outside to wash her hands with a bottle of water. And I'm like, why would you not just turn the other spigot on and make sure it was cold before you stuck the kid's hand,
That doesn't make sense.
wash her hands,
All right, so
But
your
other-
faucets were mislabeled, and that's the only issue you had with Jamie during that visitation?
Well, no, I said that was just an odd situation.
All right.
I mean, she hasn't done anything in front of me that's overtly, against, that doesn't overtly put Emily at a distance, but it's just, her interest doesn't fully seem to be like it's there. And I think it was Saturday because she knew that she was being supervised.
I don't have any further questions, Judge.
All right,
Nothing else from this witness, Your
you
Honor.
may step down, call your next witness.
Your Honor, it's we
It is
rest.
temporary, yes. You may proceed.
Your Honor, I would call my client, Ms. Armstrong.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in the case now in hearing be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir. All right, Jamie, state your full name for the record.
Jamie Marie Armstrong.
And how are you employed?
I'm a nurse at Candler County Hospital.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about your work schedule. Can you tell the court what is your current schedule at that employment?
Yes, ma'am. I work 7 days on to have 7 days off.
All right, since when has that schedule been your current schedule?
It got public, so I fixed the schedule probably in the middle of February up till now. So, and the schedule comes out about a month in advance. And
Okay.
it goes for about 2 months.
All right, and before you and Mr. Armstrong separated, were you on that same 7 days on, 7 days off schedule?
No, ma'am.
Okay, can you tell me why you changed it?
For the benefit of having Emily.
All right, was that a conversation that you and Mr. Armstrong had had?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
That's all right. And tell me about that conversation. Was this in person or text message?
It was in text message. I told him I was rearranging my work schedule. I don't think I have that there, but I sent him a text message saying I was rearranging my work schedule to have work 7 days straight, to have 7 days off, so I could be able to get her and have her.
All right. And through that conversation, did you and him agree on any sort of parenting time schedule for you?
No.
All right. And so the calendars that he has suggested to the court, did you agree with the days that he indicated that you had custody of your daughter?
No, I do not agree.
Can you tell me why you disagree with that exhibit?
I do believe I had her more than what he's stating to it, except for I did have multiple attempts on reaching Eric Armstrong to try to get my daughter, and he would ignore me and not respond until about 7 o'clock at night, or said he was busy with something, or that his mom was spending time with her.
All right. Can you tell me approximately, if you remember, when those text messages would have occurred?
That would probably be ranging from February up to recent. But I did have COVID and pneumonia in the middle of March, and I did explain that to him. And when you have COVID and all that, there's a 5-day window of quarantine. So I did that, and I was going to pick her up that following Wednesday, I believe.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach?
You right?
I'm going to show you what I'm marking as defendant's exhibit 1. Are these the text messages that you were referencing?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
All right. Can you tell me if you see a date on those?
Yep, March 13th on Wednesday.
All right. And as you flip through there, can you describe to me what type of messages you were sending to Mr. Armstrong?
On March 13th, I received a census day. And if you don't know what a census day is, when there's not enough patients and an overstaffed nurse, so it's a free day off essentially. And you don't find that out till about 5 o'clock that afternoon. But it could be sooner. And I sent him saying, I'm grabbing Emily, I got a census day. And then he mentioned the leprechaun trap. And I said, oh, I just wanted to spend time with her. And then I retexted him at 5:12 that afternoon. I said, just let me know. And he said, let you know what.
All right. And his prior testimony about those follow-up text messages not being until later in the evening, are you able to identify what time those actually occurred based on these messages?
So yeah, there's a timestamp If that's what you're referring to?
Yeah, can you tell me what that time says?
I texted him at the very beginning at 1:27. I retexted him at 5:12 that afternoon, and I texted him at 7:09 that night.
All right. And throughout these text messages, did you continue to ask about picking up your daughter?
The next following day, I tested myself, and that's when I had COVID. And then I asked for updates about Emily throughout on the 17th, and it did not get a response.
Okay, was that typical of Mr. Armstrong not to reply to your text messages?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Your Honor, we would tender Defendant's Exhibit 1.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
And Ms. Armstrong, there's been allegations today that you have threatened to take your daughter to Kansas. Can you walk me through the text messages that he has produced to the court and indicate to me from your perspective what was going on at that time?
So all during those times, including the ones in September when we were still married, still living under the same roof, we would get into heated conversations, and I would say I would go up to Kansas, but I have no intentions of going back to Kansas due to the fact that I made a life down here for Emily, and I want to be there and and be present for her. And as well, I'm going back to school to get my RN degree through Southeastern Technical College, and that's about a year into it too.
All right, and so your daughter is registered in school in, I believe it's the Cobbtown area, is that right?
It's in Candler County, so she goes to school through Metter Elementary.
Okay, and so do you have any intentions of trying to move her schools or change her education?
No, ma'am.
All right, and how about her doctors? Where is her primary care physician?
Videa Pediatric Clinic.
All right, and there were some allegations, I believe it may have been in witness affidavits, about you failing to take your daughter to the doctor. What is your response to that?
So I have her medical records right there. I have taken her to the doctors 15 times. Eric has taken her twice, and Nona Steele has taken her once. During the allegation of Emily having a urinary tract infection, she had a wellness visit on the 6/9/23, so June 9th, 2023. I brought it up to the doctor about her having symptoms, but her urine was clear and no odor or anything like that. But Emily would hold her bladder in and not go to the bathroom unless she was in, like, at the house, so where she was comfortable at. So Nona took her back to the pediatric office on June 21st, 2023. They did a urinary analysis, and everything was negative except for a small amount of blood. But if you read on the back of it, it says ATI urine sample has no abnormal pathogens, and they were only giving her the antibiotic due to the discussion made or the assessment that was made.
All right, at that time, were you and Mr. Armstrong married and living in the same residence?
We were. I was in nursing school at that time doing 12-hour clinicals as well as working 12-hour night shift on Thursday through Saturday.
All right, and throughout your daughter's lifetime, have you primarily cared for her medical needs?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and how about through school? Can you tell me the process and your involvement with her education?
I try to help her with projects. I bring snacks and everything to her school get-togethers. I go on field trips with her. Anything that is need for her or school, I try to get it for her.
And you heard Mr. Armstrong's testimony today that he has actually been the primary caregiver of your daughter throughout her lifetime. Did you agree with that testimony?
In some parts I do, but mostly do not, due to the fact that he volunteered to drop her off at school every single day while we were married and still living in the same house, because he had to go to school. I was working night shift. I get off at 7 o'clock. He would volunteer to take her to school, and then he volunteered to take her from the daycare to his house so I could pick her up. But on the days daycare was closed or school was not made, I would sacrifice my sleep to be there for my child to pick her up when needed. I also am the primary one that buys her all her clothes and her shoes as well.
And when you moved out of the marital residence, did he allow you to take any of her clothing, shoes, or other items?
No, we would split. Every now and then I would ask her, so we would split it. But the majority of her stuff stayed at his house. He wouldn't even let me take her bed that my parents paid for my house.
And were you exercising time? She was coming and spending time with you after the separation.
Yes, she was spending time with me after the separation.
All right, Your Honor, can I approach?
You may.
I'm going to show you what I'm marking as Defendant's Exhibit too. Will you just tell the court what these are?
These are clothes I recently purchased for Emily because the weather's changing and starting to get hot. She's going to get overheated in the pants that she has. So I went and bought her some clothes, and I have them in my car actually, but those are all the clothes I bought her and food I have bought for necessity of her house, for my house, and just random toys and everything I have bought for her while she's been visiting my house.
So even though he didn't allow you to take anything when you left, have you been able to replenish enough clothing and necessities for your daughter at your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, we would tender defendant's exhibit 2.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Submitted.
You heard Ms. Steele's testimony and also Mr. Armstrong's testimony about your most recent visitation this past weekend. Did you agree at least with the list of activities that you were able to complete with your daughter at that time?
Yes, ma'am, I agree with the activities.
How did you feel about Mr. Armstrong staying around during that visitation period?
I felt he didn't trust me, so that's why he stuck around. I even asked Nona Steele if he was going to leave at some point through text message. She said that he was not going to. So I felt like I couldn't really enjoy my time fully with my daughter because he was sitting right there, essentially, basically just watching me mess up to use against me.
All right, and from your perspective, how did that visitation go?
It went good. I enjoyed spending time with my daughter. It was emotional towards the end because I don't know when I was going to see her next due to the Visitation Ex parte Act, but it was good.
Okay. And moving forward, do you feel like you should be having supervision during your time with your child?
No, ma'am.
What schedule are you asking the court to implement in regards to your parenting time?
I want to do the verbal agreement like me and him discussed. I work 7 days in a row, so I work my 7 days in a row, and I'll pick her up that following Thursday when I do get off and have her for next Thursday until I do have to go back to work.
During that time, would you be able to retrieve her from school or daycare?
Yes, ma'am.
During that time, would you be able to feed her meals?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you be able to participate in any sort of projects or any school homework that she has?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, do you follow up with any of the stuff that's sent home in her folders and otherwise?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
All right, does she participate in any sort of extracurricular activities the judge needs to be concerned about?
Not currently, no.
All right, and so are you able to care for her specifically and individually on all 7 of those days?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and you heard Mr. Arm.
We have a poll going in chat. If you walked away, we're seeing whose side we're on now. We'll see whose side we're on later. Fozzie's idea. Thanks, Fozzie.
Armstrong's testimony, he was concerned about you leaving your daughter with a third party. Have you had to do that since you've separated from him?
Never.
All right, let's talk about your living arrangements. When you moved out of the marital residence, where did you go?
I went to Lyons, Georgia, 101 Benny Road.
All right, was that a rental?
Yes, ma'am.
What type of rental? Was it a home or a mobile home?
It was a mobile home.
All right, how many bedrooms did it have?
3, and then it had a backspace.
Okay.
So there's my bedroom, there's Emily's bedroom, there's another bedroom, and then there's a whole back part that's like open and it's insulated.
All right, at that time, were people living with you?
No, ma'am. People put their things into storage, and they stayed for about a week, but I did not have Emily during that time whatsoever.
All right, and so at that residence, did Emily have her own space?
Yes, ma'am.
And did she come to visit with you at that home?
Yes, ma'am. She came to visit me at that home.
All right. And after that, did you move to another residence?
Yes, ma'am, because it was better and more stable for Emily to be in.
Can you tell me why?
At the house on Benny Road, the windows were not ability to lock. The heat did not really stay on. It would always keep running as well as the air conditioning. And then there was a problem with the well, and we would have to call the landlord for the maintenance on that.
Were those some of the text messages that you were having with your husband?
Yes, ma'am. That was way earlier when we first separated, and it would still continue to be a problem. So I thought it would be best to move to a better, stable home. And this home has a big backyard for her to play in that's fenced in.
Where is this home located?
Jessup, Georgia.
Jessup, Georgia. And even living in Jessup, would you still be able to get her to and from school in a timely manner?
Yes, ma'am. And there should be no problem considering the fact that I do work in Metter, Georgia. So there is absolutely no problem for me getting to Metter and coming back at all.
All right. And do you currently live with anybody at this new location in Jessup?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, tell the court about that.
That is Jared Hocamp.
All right, who is Jared Hocamp?
Jared Hocamp was the man I had an affair with twice in our marriage, our late time, and then we finally separated. During that time, I spent a few weeks away from Jared due to the fact I didn't want anyone near Emily or anything like that. He met Emily once or twice, and all they did, and he played with her. He built like a bed for her. He did everything that he can for her, essentially.
How is Mr. Hocamp employed?
He's employed through the military.
All right, so he's a military person. Is he home every night?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, does he work and go to some military base during the day, or is he home also during the day?
He goes to Fort Stewart throughout the day.
All right, would there be any opportunity where you would have to leave Emily alone with Mr. Hocamp?
Not at all.
All right, Your Honor, may I approach the witness again?
You may.
I'm going to show you what I'm marking as Defendant's Exhibit 3. Can you verify for the court if these are pictures of your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have an opportunity to take those recently in preparation for today?
Not really a whole lot of prep time.
Did you take at least a few minutes to snap those?
Yes,
that
ma'am, I did.
asked you to?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
All right, so those are recent photos?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Your Honor, we would tender those as Defendant's Exhibit 3.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
They're admitted.
And Ms. Armstrong, is it your testimony that that home is where you'd like to exercise your parenting time?
Yes, ma'am, because it's safer.
All right, if the court were to say you couldn't exercise your parenting time at that home, what would be the solution?
I have the other rental property, in Lyons, Georgia, still there.
All right, so you still have that available for you to stay?
Yes, ma'am.
You still have belongings at that residence?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that on some sort of long-term lease?
That's on a month-to-month lease, but I would have to give a 30-day notice for that Lyons, Georgia property.
All right, so you could exercise your parenting time there and move back into that residence?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You heard.
Mom was on top for the poll for a while. Grandma got a little bit of votes, guys. I don't know why or how, but that was good. Now Dad is winning. Dad is winning the poll.
Heard some testimony as far as getting emotional at the visitation this past weekend. Can you describe to me how it's felt not having access to your daughter?
Sorry, I'm trying not to cry.
That's okay, there's a box of tissues if you need it.
Not having my daughter is probably the worst thing that could probably happen to me. Due to the fact she's the highlight of my whole life, I do anything and everything to take care of her. So it's kind of like a slap in the face because we were doing okay, and then all this happened all at once.
Jeremy, I'll approach.
You may.
I'm going to show you Defendant Exhibit 4. These photos of you and your daughter and participating in certain activities.
Yes, ma'am. That photo was taken on our second field trip in preschool. That photo was in Lyons, Georgia house. The third photo was just us at the house relaxing. The fourth was at a restaurant. The fifth was at Eric's Armstrong, the one time he let me visit Emily in a pool because she loves the pool and she's a water bug. And then this was, the photos of all the other ones was at Nana's daycare that she goes through, and they were having a Easter egg hunt that day. Others were from trips from Colorado. And then she went to the fair. And then this one, I don't know what page it is, but this was her very first ever haircut that I took her to. So that was a special moment. And then we also went to Gatlinburg and in December, right before our separation.
All right, and you read, I believe again, it was in the witness affidavits that you don't have much of a motherly instinct or connection with your child. How did you feel about that allegation?
I was surprised because I don't have a fantastic relationship with my mother-in-law whatsoever. We do not really communicate. So for her to say that and only hearing it from one side instead of both parties, it was like a punch in the gut, because anyone else would ever say that I try to do my best to take care of my daughter and give her everything that she needs and more, like trips and vacations and all that I do for her so she can have that memory of. So it was kind of like a slap in the face, essentially.
And do these photos show some of those trips and some of the times that y'all been able to spend that time together?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I tender defendant's exhibit 4.
No
Objection.
objection. No, Your Honor.
Submitted.
Ms. Armstrong, is there anything else that you think the court needs to know about your situation prior to making a decision?
The only thing is that every now and then they did say that I get called in, but I can always deny coming into work due to the fact that I do have my daughter. I've tried to remain civil with my husband, Eric Armstrong. I even pay his electricity bill just to make sure, because he pays the car insurance, so it's fair enough if I pay the electricity bill. So even when I was not currently living in that house, I would still pay his electric bill for 4 months straight, just to make sure my daughter did have electricity and everything that she needed for living in that home.
And you heard his testimony about this December 2nd, and I think he labeled it on his exhibit as Discovery Day.
Mm-hmm.
Do you admit today that you were involved in a relationship with Mr. Hokamp?
I wouldn't say a relationship.
You wouldn't say it was a relationship?
No, ma'am.
All right, were you involved in something outside of your marriage with Mr. Hokamp? Some situation?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and after Mr. Armstrong discovered these messages and text and otherwise on your devices, did y'all continue to have marital relations? Did y'all continue to have sex with one another?
So December 2nd, he looked through my phone, and I was asleep in the bed because I was working. We went to a Christmas party the day before, and I was asleep because I had to work that night. He went through my phone and discovered all that things, and I was still asleep, mind you. He put his penis inside me, and then he started choking me and said, "I thought you wanted to be choked out," referring to an old text message that he had displayed. So that is how I woke up. And I remember me taking his arms and to stop the choking, essentially. And that was the only other time we would really, that's the only time we had sex. Other than that, we did not have sex for from September up to that point. We did not have sex whatsoever.
All right, and you believe that that date was on December 2nd?
Yes, ma'am, it was on December 2nd.
I don't have any further questions for her, Judge.
So you're telling this court that you have moved to 85 Gerald Jones Drive, Jessup, Georgia. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, I just moved there about 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay, and that's where you had this latest order of clothes shipped to?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct? That you tendered?
That's
y'all
correct.
tendered as an exhibit. Okay. You're telling this court that you're going to work 7 days straight at Candler County Hospital?
Yes, ma'am, that's what I do now.
Okay. 12-hour shifts?
Yes, ma'am.
So you are telling this court you are going to work 84 hours in a week?
Yes, ma'am, on my pay stub altogether, it's, so 1 week it's about 3, and then because it's Thursday to Thursday, or Thursday to Wednesday. So I work Thursday all the way up to Sunday, and then I work Sunday all the way up to that Wednesday night, and then I'm off that Thursday.
Okay, that's 7 days straight.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that allowable?
I've done it.
Yes, ma'am.
Under Georgia nursing standards and practices?
It is.
So you're asking the court, after you've worked 84 hours in a 7-day stretch, to give you your child
Yes,
for
ma'am.
7 days?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when she's in school, you're going to drive her from 85 Gerald Jones Drive in Jessup to Metter every day.
Absolutely.
After you've worked 7 straight night shifts the week before.
Yes, ma'am.
How far is it from Jessup to Metter?
About an hour.
Have you done it in Maps or Apple Maps or Google
It's about an
Maps?
hour and 10 minutes.
Okay. What time are you going to have to leave to get your child to school on time?
6:30. Because his parent drop us from 7:25 to 7:45.
Okay. You're going to get your child up at 5:30 in the morning and drive her an hour to an hour and 15 minutes before school and expect her to be a functioning, learning child at school.
When I lived at the Lions location, it was 30 minutes away, and she would fall asleep in the car while I drove her to the school to drop her off.
And that is, you're telling that as if it's a good thing to the court?
I'm just stating, ma'am.
Okay. And that's Hotel, what's his name?
Hocamp,
Can you spell Hocamp for me?
Hokamp.
Okay, and you agree you and Jared were in a relationship prior to the ending of your marriage?
We weren't in a relationship, we would hook up.
Okay, so if on your smartwatch there was messages between you and Jared saying, has he not seen that we're dating on Facebook? Is that's, y'all weren't in a relationship then? Is that what he's just talking, Jared's just talking?
I wouldn't really describe it as a relationship.
Okay, Jared's an officer, correct, in the military?
He's a staff sergeant.
Okay, he's not supposed to be under the Army morals and standards. He's not supposed to be engaging in a relationship with a married woman, is he?
Yes, ma'am.
He is or is not?
It's not.
It's not allowable, is it?
He'll have some.
Okay, so in a message he says, I talked with an officer friend of mine in the Army. He advised we take down our relationship till divorce is complete. Did you have that discussion with him?
Yes, we broke it off for a few weeks.
Okay, for a few weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
Who was Jake?
I don't even remember Jake. I done never met up with any of those besides for Jared Hocamp.
Okay, well, okay. So Jake, you messaged, you exchanged phone numbers with, correct?
I suppose.
Okay.
I don't really remember
So were
those
you
ones.
talking to lots of men online?
I wouldn't say lots, but I was communicating with them. I never met up with any of them besides for Jared Hocamp.
Okay. So you never met up with Jake, but you were too busy to parent and play with your little girl because you were messaging all these men, correct?
No, ma'am. I was playing with her.
Okay. Who's Mitchell?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did you send him a photo?
Maybe. I don't recall. I don't remember.
And where was your little girl when you were doing all this?
She was probably in school.
Okay, but who's Cornbread?
Ma'am?
Who was Cornbread?
I don't remember. I don't recall.
I'm going to show you plaintiff's 13. Do you recognize this?
Oh, thank you.
How do you not remember cornbread? That's rude.
That's Eric's. That's my name in Eric's phone.
You're Cornbread?
Apparently, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And that's where y'all are discussing the snacks for Emily, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is where you say, what snacks and food has Emily been eating at your house? I want to make sure to get her stuff she wants to eat.
Yes, ma'am, because she goes through different phases on what she wants to eat.
So you weren't sure what your child would
I had a rough estimate, but I wanted to make sure I would get her food that she would enjoy.
Okay, and you recognize this text exchange between you and Eric?
Yes, ma'am, I acknowledge it.
Okay, Your Honor, we moved to tender plaintiff's 13.
No objection.
Is admitted.
Who's Ty Brucci or Bruchet?
That was a buddy back home in Kansas that moved to Tennessee.
Okay, and you were busy with him, were you not?
I was texting him.
Okay,
That was it.
you were texting him nude pictures, correct?
They weren't completely nude, but yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna show you plaintiff's exhibit 14.
Can I leave it show?
Okay. Actually, I'm just gonna make it a composite.
That's fine.
Okay, all right, do you recognize this message exchange between you and Ty Bruchet?
His name's Brucci, sorry.
Brucci?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I acknowledge this, but I never met up with that person as well.
And where was your daughter when you were sexting him these, semi-nude photos of yourself?
She was at school.
Okay. I'm going to tender plaintiff's exhibit 14.
Any
We
objection?
object to the relevance of it, Your Honor, but she's acknowledged that's her.
Admitted.
Yep, okay. Who's Shayna?
Shayna is one of my best friends.
Okay. Do you recall her asking one time where you were?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you tell her you were?
Jared's.
And what name did you call Jared that day? Whose house did you tell her you were at?
Is this relevant?
You just answered the question.
Okay, sorry. At Big Dick's man's house.
Okay.
Mm.
And where was your little girl when you were at Big Dick house?
Can I see the timestamp on it?
Sure. Well, I'll just hand you the phone. Let's see.
There's no timestamp, so I don't really recall.
Did you send that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, you were at Jared Big Dick's house instead of looking after your daughter, correct?
Based on the timestamp, I can't tell you a definite answer.
Okay. Now, you had told Eric you wanted to get your daughter back at the end of March, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You were going to get a tattoo first, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So instead of spending several hours with your child, you went and got a tattoo, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you wanted to go get her at 9 o'clock at night, is that correct? Is that correct?
I was updating him. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. She's usually asleep by 9 o'clock or around 9 o'clock, isn't she?
Not with Eric Armstrong on the weekends. No, ma'am.
All right. Who is Tanner Hembolt?
I don't recall.
Okay. Eric and your mother-in-law testified about you not being attentive to Emily. That's because you're too busy sexting all these men, correct?
No, ma'am, that's not correct.
When you're looking at your phone, they were both referred to it. You looking at your phone, playing on your phone, it's because you're busy sexting these men when you should be looking after your little girl, correct?
No, ma'am, that's not correct.
Okay.
She's looking
So you
up
think that's an
parenting
appropriate
tips.
thing to be doing while your child's in the room with you?
No, ma'am, I was not sexting while my daughter was present.
Okay. And you're living with Hocamp in Jessup, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're going to move your daughter in with a man she doesn't know.
They met up twice,
They've met each other twice.
but he never has watched her. Every time I had to go to work, I told Eric and I communicated with him that I had to go to work and he would pick her up. I would drop her off at his house before I went to work.
If there's an emergency, if you get called into work, if you're sick, who's going to look after Emily?
I have a support system around Metter, Georgia.
But you're living in Jessup, ma'am, correct?
Yes, ma'am, but I can always move back here to Lyons, Georgia if need to be, as I do still have that property available.
So you're paying rent on 2 places.
I'm only paying rent on the Vidalia one currently.
I gave you copies of these. I'm going to show you Plaintiff's Exhibit 9. Do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am, I recognize this conversation.
All right, are those texts between you and Eric?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay. And are these texts from November 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, does this fairly and accurately portray the text conversation y'all had?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Your Honor, I move to tender Plaintiff's Exhibit 9.
Any objection?
No objection.
And in this text thread, you have an issue with a car tire, right?
Yes, ma'am. I was going to the tire shop that day to get brand new tires.
Okay. And you said, I hate my goddamn life. I hope I fucking die from this tire. IDK, where the tire shop is. Did you not?
I did. I stated that.
Is that how you talk in front of your daughter?
No, ma'am, absolutely not.
Okay, is that how you react to normal everyday stressors such as a nail being in your tire?
I used to, but now I do not.
So from November to April 17th, you've had a miraculous change in your temperament.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Why is that?
due to the fact that I want to have my daughter and have to do better for her, and it makes no sense to portray my anger out on her or to anyone else, really.
What was the source of that anger that made you say things like you wanted to die?
So, I had problems with my tires recently, well, back in November 2023. I asked Eric for his air compressor because he had one at the house. He made me go to the gas station while I had a flat tire to fill it up to be able to get to the Claxton tire shop, Screens tire shop, to get my tires put on. But it would only fill up to like 16 psi. So I had to make that drive from Cobbtown to Claxton. And he showed that he didn't care. So I just portrayed in anger, and I shouldn't have.
Okay, I'm gonna show you plaintiff's exhibit 10. Do you recognize these text messages? You recognize this text conversation?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it portray the conversation you had with your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
And these are from, again, November of 2023, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, we've moved to tender plaintiff's exhibit 3.
Any objection?
No objection.
Submitted?
Okay. And again, in these texts, you say, "I'm done. I'm emotionally and physically done," correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You said, "I don't know anyone in this goddamn state,"
That's correct.
correct? And you also say, "Trust me, if I leave, I ain't staying in this shithole state, but you honestly don't think I'll leave." And then you say, "I'm literally about to fucking leave you," correct?
Yes, ma'am. I was referring to the marriage.
Okay. How many times have you threatened to take your child to Kansas? That's been one of your default responses when y'all had an argument, hasn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
You've told him, "I'm going to take Emily in May. I'm going to take Emily in August," have you not?
One time. That was in the May.
You've discussed going to RN school in Kansas, haven't you?
Yes, ma'am. But then there's an RN program here that is LPN to RN Bridge at Southeastern Technical College, where I graduated LPN school from.
Eric's been nothing but a good daddy to your daughter.
That's correct.
He's taken her to school. He has looked after her for you to go to school and for you to be able to work, hasn't he?
I wouldn't say not that much for the school because I was still able to pick her up because I went to school from Monday to Thursday, 8 to 4. So if something were to arise, I could have got her.
But what I'm saying is he has worked, he has cared for your child and given you the ability to go to school, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And to work when you completed that school, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you told the court you want to go to, you looked at the RN bridge program at Southeastern Tech, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So are you going to keep working and do the bridge program?
I did that when I was in LPN school as well. So, yes, ma'am, if I do that.
So you're going to be back in the position of working what you say is 7 days a week and going to RN school.
I would have to cut down my week. I would have to cut down my days from Thursday to Sunday because the bridge program's Monday, Wednesday.
There is absolutely no way you can have your child on a week-to-week basis, is there?
Currently, right now, yes, ma'am. There is a way for that right now. But if that doesn't mean I don't have to go to RN school, I won't do to help benefit and be there for my child. I will.
Okay. I'm going to show you this. It's plaintiff's exhibit 12. Do you recognize that?
Yep.
Is that a text communication between you and Eric?
Yep.
And is it from December of 2023?
Yes, ma'am. I believe it's December.
You know, we moved plaintiff
Any objection?
No objection. And at the very bottom of this page, you say you didn't deserve anything. I fucked up. I totally understand that. I'm sorry about everything, whether you choose to believe it or not. You deserve entirely better. You said that, correct?
Yes, ma'am, I said that to Eric.
I can read it tomorrow. Does Emily ever play on your phone?
No, she has her own devices. She has an iPad and 3 phones. The iPad I paid for, and the other 3 was old phones that we had.
Okay, so does she have access to some of your old phones?
Yes, ma'am, but nothing's on the old phones.
So at some point, she could have accessed some of this content between you and these men, correct?
No, ma'am, it had a lock on there. Eric just knew my passcode to it.
Okay. So you can assure this court that she's not gonna see the naked pictures you've been sending these men?
I don't do that anymore.
Semi-naked. Allegedly.
Nothing else, Your Honor.
I don't have anything further for her, Judge. And no additional witnesses.
You may step down. All righty. Argument?
I'll reserve closing, Your Honor.
Your Honor, and I know the court's been paying very good attention to the hearing. I would just remind the court that my client has 2 potential living situations. She's happy to follow the direction of the court. We presented pictures of the home that she is currently living in with her boyfriend. The home looks very nice, very well put together. She's testified that the first place she found after separating from her husband was not the best place, not the most beautiful, not the most safest. And the text messages even presented by the plaintiff shows that there were often problems with that home. But she understands the concerns that the court may have, understands the concerns of her husband about her living with her boyfriend. She's happy to follow the court's direction about that. I don't think it is abnormal in any way that a nurse with children, or in this case one child, would formulate their schedule in a way that would open them up to being available to their child. And in this case, it makes perfect sense for them to do what the parties agreed to, a 50-50 week-on, week-off schedule. She can make it work, has made it work, and that is the schedule that she's got currently with her job. And Your Honor, to the extent I understand the plaintiff said he wasn't concerned about child support, I understand the parties previously agreed there would be no child support, but I would just ask the court to remember his testimony that his financial affidavit is inaccurate and his income is actually about 4 times what he disclosed in his handwritten affidavit, to the extent the court is going to grant any sort of child support in either direction.
All righty. Did he, let me just, before you begin, did he, and I don't remember if he was asked this or not, my understanding from her, and I don't think he's denied it, is that they had at some point agreed on a 50-50 arrangement until he got concerned that she was gonna take the child to Kansas. I don't think he didn't deny that, and that's what she says they've agreed to.
What he said they agreed to, Your Honor, was just whenever she could get her when her schedule allowed.
Well, isn't that's okay. Isn't that the same thing? If she's changed her schedule and told him that she changed it to, so she'd be off all week, that her schedule would then allow 50-50? I mean, that sounds like the same thing to me.
It's all up for interpretation.
Oh, I guess everything is. All right, go ahead.
Your Honor, it's clear who the primary caretaker of this child is. It is clear who can provide this child with the stability that a 4-year-old needs. It is Daddy. It is Eric Armstrong. During the course of the marriage, it's clear there was a lot of extracurricular activity going on by Ms. Armstrong. The testimony shows she was not an active and engaged parent, both from my client and his mother. It's easy to see when you look at some of those messages, why. She has now moved to Jessup. If you look at their own exhibit, Your Honor, she shipped those clothes she ordered from Shine to the residents in Jessup. It is ludicrous to think that she could drive from Jessup and work in Metter 7 days in a row and then turn around and drive her child to school 5 days out of 7. And that's beneficial to that child. It's not. That is not fair to put that on a child. We're talking an hour to an hour and 15-minute drive daily each way just to go to and from school. My client has no issue with Miss Armstrong seeing the child. He has wanted her to see the child. He's made the child available before he ever got this ex parte. She had every opportunity to get this child. There was no testimony that he blocked her from getting this child, except for the day they were working on the leprechaun trap, and you heard him say it was a 3D. He was using the 3D printer, and they needed to finish it up. She admitted one opportunity she had to get the child, she forewent it to go get a tattoo in Statesboro. Her priorities are not this child. They will not be this child. It's all a sad sob story now because she's been called out on her ridiculous behavior. And you can tell from the text messages, Your Honor, there's some emotional issues there. Her default anytime they argue is, I'm divorcing you, I'm moving to Kansas. And then later on you see I want to die. She overreacts to the simplest situation. We believe we've shown that it's in the best interest of this child that she be in the primary physical custody of Eric Armstrong. They share joint legal custody, but he had final decision-making authority on a temporary basis. We have no issue whatsoever with Ms. Armstrong having visitation, but visitation that ensures, one, that Emily is not around these unfamiliar and strange men. And a guarantee that this woman will not flee this state with that child. And we know based on recent events that even though that always seems like a TV show thing, that it's not. It happens. It happens in a contentious situation. It happens. It happened here 2 weeks ago. And it's already been threatened by this mother several times when the situation wasn't that tense. We'd ask that she have some daytime visitation, but that the child be with Dad at night just until we can have some more guarantee that she's not being exposed to multiple meretricious relationships and that she's also safe. Child support, that's the least of my client's worries. Your Honor, whatever the court sees fit to do with that, we're fine with that. Is that right? He just wants to ensure that his child is safe and under his care, and we'd ask the court consider all that in making its decision.
All right, it's time. So right now the poll is dead even. Mom 30, it just changed. So Mom has 39% right now. Dad has 37% right now. And Grandma has 24% right now. All right, here we go. We're going to do one more poll now that everybody had their say. And the mom's text messages, which were hilarious, were shown. But we're going to keep Grandma out. She lost the first one. Here we go. Who gets custody? Come on into chat, guys, and oh, Carolyn should get custody. She has the best accent. Okay, Mom is pulling out on top right now. Oh, Dad's got to vote. This is gonna wind up 50-50. You watch. No, mom is still winning. While they're doing their poll, I just have one comment to make about all of it. Just one. I'm not giving my opinion on who gets custody or who did what wrong or right. I just want to say that the lawyer for the dad is so out of touch. I mean, women can sext while doing dishes and cooking at the same time. All they do is, with their little pinky, oh yeah, just like that. And then they keep going. It's not a big deal. It's just, something that they have to do, another chore they have to do while they're going around their day. So yeah, and her shoes were, too distracting. Maybe we should do custody based on footwear. Maybe. I wonder what the judge is wearing. He's probably wearing New Balance. Wow. I'm a little shocked about this poll here. Fozzie's cat gets gets custody. All right, finish up. We're gonna close the poll. Sandals. Yep. All right. I'm ending the poll now, guys. It's over. So, here's what we got. Mom at 59%. Nope. Mom ended at 58%. Dad ended at 41% with 39 votes. People think mom's going to get custody. Let's see. Here we go.
All right, well, this is certainly not a case that I was looking forward to handling this kind of a matter. That's sad situation, I guess, when these parties get to the point they are. The mother has obviously made some very poor choices. She knows that. She's admitted that. That, as Ms. Navarro pointed out in one of her objections, and I guess I have to put it in terms of 2024, that some of those are not necessarily relevant to the issue of ability to look after and care for a child. It's certainly relevant to the other issues in the divorce, and I think that's no question about that, but there probably aren't going to be any of those issues. Not a large estate here. We're not talking about alimony. We're not talking about any of that kind of stuff, so there's not going to be any of those issues. So the question becomes, does her misconduct, as grievous as it is, deprive her of what they essentially had agreed to, though he denies it, which was a 50-50 split on custody. And I don't think it does. I don't think it rises to that level. If it continues, it will. You can't be out there like you were out there and be looking after a 4-year-old child and be a responsible mother of a 4-year-old child. I don't know how much of this, if any, was put on social media, their text messages. One of the things people sometimes learn, however, the hard way, now listen to me now, is when you share things where you think it's private, like a text message, and then there's a breakup. One of the quickest ways they use to get retribution for the breakup is, I'm going to publish on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and whatever else there is, that embarrassing photographs that she sent me. So, of course, once they're there, and he's got them. You know, and I don't know how many more there are. I don't know who else, whether, not getting into that now, whether there are other guys who've got those who are going to be, you know. And then your children have friends who have parents who have Facebook, who then will be seeing all of that kind of stuff and talking about it, and her friends will be exposed to it, and it's embarrassing to your child. I don't know, but I would expect you would not have wanted to see things like that about your mother. Once you get to be a mother, that sort of things ought to change. But I think we're looking at, I'm willing to give them on a temporary basis the 50-50 deal that I think they pretty much agreed to, because he said if she gets her work schedule worked out, she can have visitation that she would have. See how it works out. Put in his income as the actual rate, put hers income at the actual rate, and if there's I don't know what his income is compared to hers, but whatever they are, if it requires a child support one way or the other, that's the way it would go.
Mine has it within, him paying $658, her paying $601, so within $50 of each other.
Yeah. So he'd owe her the difference, whatever, $50, whatever the difference is. Not a big deal. And I guess with that transition, when's your work schedule?
I go back to work this Friday and I work all the way up till Wednesday night. So.
Today's Thursday, so you go back to work tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he would have the child this next week.
And then
You would get, what time do you get off work? You work Wednesday night?
Yes, sir. And then I go home, sleep for about 3 hours or 4, and then I can get Emily from the daycare or school, whichever he prefers.
On Thursday?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so she goes straight from school to daycare?
Yes, sir,
All right,
typically.
Then you would pick her up at daycare on Thursday, a week from today.
Yes, sir.
And then you go back to work on Wednesday?
I would go back to work that Thursday night.
That Thursday night?
Yeah.
So you would take her to school?
So you're off the 25th and you would pick her up and then you go back to work on the 2nd?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
But if she picks her up on Thursday afternoon, right?
Yes, he would, because I would.
I mean, you pick her up on Thursday afternoon after you get off work, get some sleep.
Yes.
So then you take her back to school the next Thursday morning.
Yes, sir, and
And
then
then he'd pick them up from school Thursday afternoon.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, that'll work.
And are we referring to daycare or school, just for?
Whatever there is, the daycare, y'all kept saying school, but
She rides
She rides the bus from.
to daycare, to the aunt's daycare after school.
I
So we
understand.
ask it be daycare just so she knows
Consistency.
that's where she's going every day.
well, that's what I'm saying. So she would take her back to school on Thursday morning.
Right.
Child would ride the bus from school to daycare, and he'd pick her up from daycare. The next Thursday, she'd pick her up from daycare. After she goes to school on Thursday, goes to daycare on Thursday, she'd pick her up that afternoon from daycare after she gets off work early Wednesday morning, goes home and gets some sleep. Picking her up from daycare will give you another hour or two of sleep. And then you're gonna have to gut it. Then you have to gut it out.
That the child would take the school bus regardless on all the days and then
Right.
pick her up from daycare.
Yeah. No use disrupting that. All right.
Lauren, you want to draft the order?
I don't, assuming if we get to the holiday season before y'all get this to a final here, and y'all let me know, and I'll look at where this schedule will lead them holiday wise, and we'll make whatever arrangements we need to make about Christmas or
We tried.
whatever.
We spent Christmas together.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to do these days.
Yeah, we do pretty good during the majority of the holidays. I know we spent Christmas together to watch her open up the presents and opening
Yeah,
together all as one instead of two
that would
separate
be wonderful
households.
wonderful if you can.
Yes, sir.
I don't know this new guy. She's obviously going to be well around him, but he's not to be looking after her because
No,
till we know a whole lot more about him.
yes. What she said, yes.
We'll put that in the order.
Yeah.
And of course, you're going to put in the order that neither can leave the state with the child. If you leave this state with this child and you go back to Kansas with this child, and they will find you, and we will get the child back. And then you may not see this child for a long time.
No, I'll stay put in Georgia.
Okay.
I'm a little Georgia peach, I suppose.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Next Thursday.
Yep, the 25th.
Yes, sir.
So the divorce isn't over. They still have to get divorced. But the temporary custody order is in place. The judge is smart. The judge is like, we have to put this in 2024 terms, not 1956 terms. Yeah, she was messing around with a bunch of guys, but that doesn't mean she can't be a mom. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say this, but lots of men mess around with lots of girls and they're still dads. Yeah, the dad is mad. The dad is mad. But, I mean, I get his point about, she moved in with a guy and now he doesn't want his daughter, just thrown in with a new guy. Got it. 100% agree with that. That's a process. The little girl's 4 years old. It's a process. You can't just say, okay, here's a new member of your family now. Especially when, come on, guys, is this relationship with something Ho? What was his name? I can't remember his name. Is that going to last? Who knows? Who knows? But it went well. And we found out, we finally cracked the case of the bicycle heists of 2024. We should tell CNN. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Dad's gonna date. He's definitely, I mean, I'm not saying he's gonna date, but people normally do. Ho Camp. There we go. Ho Camp. Thank you, Jim. So, all right, the shoes in this video, it was a little bit. It was a little bit much, those shoes, but the accents were on point. And then Big D popped in there. I didn't know Big D was going to pop in there, guys. I don't know if I would have played it anyways. Probably would have. But we'll see. That we're not going to get the divorce. We're not going to find out what happens there. But it doesn't sound like it's a big deal. I mean, they don't have to split up a home, a business, and kids, and custody, and yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad we made it through. I'm sorry there's no Fleischer. I might just make a video quick, like a 30-minute video, and put some Fleischer up as a video instead of a live. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to get Fleischer. I'm going to try to find, I don't know if I have time to do this part. I am going to put up just a video of Fleischer for people who need it for today, for people who need their Fleischer kick for today. But I'm also going to try to find from yesterday's where they said that he's a superstar on YouTube, because I missed that part. I mean, I missed it completely. I can't believe I missed that part. And then I'm going to try to put that in the video. Thanks for doing the poll, guys. That was fun. I was shocked. I thought, well, okay, I actually thought everybody was just going to pick Dad. I really did. And Mom was like, Mom won. Yeah, red bow tie Fleischer. I had that from yesterday. I have today's too. I didn't have time to do the trial and the Fleischer. I just ran out of time. I have a job. I don't want this job though. No, I have fun at my. Oh, guys, I have to tell you something personal. So, I have a lot of family drama. Let me tell you, I have a ton of family drama. I'm not getting into the family drama. I'm not a part of that. I'm completely out of it. I don't talk to any of it. I don't get involved. However, my niece had court. Nope, my sister and my niece both had court today. Two two hearings. All right. My sister, who is the mother of my niece, all right, she has a protection from abuse filed against her by my niece's ex because they have a child together. And long story short, my mother doesn't like my niece's ex. My mother, who is elderly, and her husband, who is also elderly, and my sister, who's around my age, ran down the hallway at the courthouse in Pennsylvania to harass this guy completely. And the sheriffs came and the sheriffs came and they escorted not very nicely my mother, my sister and my mother's husband out of the courthouse, and there's no video of it. Oh man, that would be funny to watch. But I didn't go. I didn't go because I don't get involved in drama. I'm too old to care about drama. If they want to have drama, they can go have drama all they want. That has nothing to do with me. But I sure would have liked to video that though. Yep. Yep. Now I think, guys, we should all go get some orange shoes because really, it really attracted attention in that video. Everywhere we go, people would look at our feet. Oh, God. All right, I'm going to go get this Fleischer video together. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm not going to get distracted. I'm not going to go do dishes. I'm going to get the Fleischer video together, and then I will see you all tomorrow. And it's Friday, and if Fleischer said he doesn't work on Fridays, but he does because I got him last Friday. So I'll have Fleischer tomorrow during the live. I just will. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much, chat. You guys are amazing. This chat is awesome. All right, I'm gonna go have a julep. I'm gonna go have a julep. No, I'm gonna do the Fleischer video. See you guys.